Welcome back to Cigar Time, your friendly Tuesday night cigar show. And we have our usual esteemed panel with us tonight. Yeah. I have Rob to my right.
How you doing, everybody?
To his right is Paul.
Hello, everyone.
To his right is Scott.
Hello.
And to his right is Tia.
Hi.
And I guess we're going to have our two wonderful cigar ladies introduce and cut and whatever. So bring on the cigars.
Yay.
What are
cigars.
Thank you.
What are we smoking?
It looks like
Cigars.
a Fuente Hemingway short story.
Thank you. Now, last week when I lit the cigar, I toasted it.
Thank you, ma'am.
But this cigar is much different.
Are you going to broil it?
No, this one
Thank you.
is kind of tough to toast.
Microwave.
It's got a little nipple on the end. What did you call this cigar?
A nipple.
A nipple.
Oh, the shape?
The perfecto.
Perfecto.
Thank you very much.
It's actually a tiny...
Don't forget our mystery smoker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiny Solomon. I really love Cameroon cigar. I love the oil in Cameroon
Well,
wrappers.
let's see, tell
Well,
us
wait a
what
minute.
this is.
Wait, before we get to the description,
What is it?
well, yeah, she's going to tell us what it is. But I think, Paul, you ought to tell people, when they see a shape like this, they sometimes get confused which end to light.
Which end to light?
Yeah.
Well,
Believe me, I've seen it happen.
many times. And in theory, it might work in both
I did
directions,
it
but
wrong.
that's not the way you want to smoke it. No, you did it right. When you see a cigar that is rounded and has a normal head, but the foot has a nipple on it, you still light the foot. And what you will find as you light this kind of cigar, you don't cut the nipple off. What you
That would hurt.
That would hurt.
Don't put clothespins on it either. When you first light a cigar like this, what you're going to find is the draw. It
Yeah.
might not be tight, but it's going to be skimpy. It's not going to give you a lot of smoke.
Right.
But as the nipple burns down and the inside of the cigar warms up, it opens up a lot and the draw becomes terrific. So don't be intimidated by that little nipple and the idea that it's not going to draw right. It
Well,
will.
I think that was most informative, and I think it's now time to tell everybody at home, and lovely Miss Tia will tell us what this is all about.
The cigar we're smoking today is a Fuente Hemingway short story. It's actually named after the old man in the sea, Ernest Hemingway himself. The wrapper is a Cameroon, which is probably why I like it so much. The binder is Dominican and the filler is Dominican. Comes only in one size, which is a Perfecto, 4.5 by 49. The taste is bursts of burnt oak, ground espresso beans, pepper, and spicy sweet undertones, just like me.
Well,
I agree.
I think it's kind of interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting that it's called Hemingway, and he wasn't really a big cigar
no,
smoker.
not at all. No.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of time in the, the ancestral home of cigars, Cuba.
Well, Cuba, yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and this is the short story. There are other sizes in the Hemingway line.
Right.
The classic and the
Signature. Work of art.
Between the lines.
Between the
There's
lines.
all those, yeah.
Yep.
Masterpiece.
Yeah, the big
Untold
big baby.
Story.
Yeah.
Essentially all the same shape, just different
Different
sizes.
sizes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Our first topic today will be the dreaded cigar beetles.
Yeah.
What causes them and how do you avoid them? Panel?
Who wants to check? Me? All right.
We always think of you as the beetle guy.
That's not good.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, and I work in Horsham.
Beetlejuice.
Tobacco beetle is exactly what it is. It's a really minute, I guess it's about the size of the head on a pin.
Yeah.
It's a little bug. And it comes because when the temperature in your humidor or where you're keeping your cigars gets too high. Now, I'll backtrack a little bit. All of the tobacco most of the tobacco has larvae in it. And what happens is when it reaches a certain temperature, 75 degrees roughly, and too much of a high humidity, those larvae actually hatch. And they will turn into beetles and they will tear through your cigars. The first thing you'll see is a little tiny hole in the cigar, or you'll see little tracks through it. And they can go through and they can ruin your cigar collection.
Oh, they
Absolutely.
can.
Wreaks havoc.
So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when they hatch out, they really only have two missions.
Yeah.
One is to eat as much tobacco as they can get. So they'll go from cigar to cigar to cigar and just keep eating. And
Yep.
the other is to lay little tobacco beetles
Make more
all
larvae.
over.
Yeah.
To make more.
Yep.
Well,
So that's all they do.
And how do we get rid of them?
well, I'm going to back up just for a second. The modern cigar manufacturing techniques, and most countries fumigate and freeze them, although not all, but they do one or the other and sometimes both. But to prevent them, obviously store your cigars at a lower temperature. The preferred temperature is somewhere between 68 and no more than about 72, with the humidity just about in the same range. At that temperature and humidity, you're rarely ever going to see a beetle hatch, and you won't have a problem. And most people will spend their entire lives smoking cigars and never see a beetle, but it can happen, and especially in the summertime, or if you buy cigars from a poorly taken care of humidor, which is why we're such fuss budgets on our humidors,
Yeah.
keeping them at
Especially
proper
the temperature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially temperature in the summertime. Or if cigars are left laying around in warehouses during the summer or on UPS trucks during the summer. That's why we always try to arrange for deliveries that don't need a weekend layover. Because
Right.
in the summertime, FedEx and UPS and even the United States Postal Service, they're not storing them in humidified, cooled areas. They're storing them in just in general warehouses. So we go to great pains to make sure it doesn't happen.
That's also one of the reasons we recommend when people say, where should I keep my humidor? Like, basement's probably the best because it's a cool spot,
yeah.
but out of direct sunlight.
Yeah,
even
away
if you're
from the window.
even if you're air conditioned, keep it away from the window because it'll heat that up, and chances are you could get a bug in there.
Paul, anything to add to that?
Well, we can talk a little bit about the different techniques that companies use to
think it's a good
try to reduce the number of beetles that ever make it into your cigar. And as you mentioned, the primary method is a form of fumigation. It's not the kind that you might think of from home. They don't put a tent over it and spray
bomb in
it
it,
with
yeah.
Instead, they have a thing, I hate to say it, but it looks like a urinal cake. It's a pill.
Yeah, big size pill.
It dissolves into the air and it kills the beetles, and within 72 hours, at least theoretically, it becomes completely inert and the chemical can't harm you anymore. Obviously, in a tobacco plantation, they can't do anti-bug spraying the way they do on other crops, because what's happening to this crop is you're putting it in your mouth and setting it on fire, and you definitely don't want insecticide on that.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
You wouldn't think anyway.
The second method, and this really first started during the boom, the cigar boom in the mid-90s, is to freeze the cigars. And the idea is to take a large number of cigars, they actually do it in full container loads, and put it in a big commercial freezer. And the goal here is to freeze it fast enough so that the moisture in the larva expands, as moisture tends to do when you freeze it. And it bursts the shell of the larva, so they'll never hatch, they'll never put out the beetle itself. It's a very good method, it's very effective. It's a method that you can even use at home with a small amount of care. That is that you have to freeze it cold enough, long enough, and you have to be very slow about bringing it back from
Right. Yeah.
freezing. The ideal method would be freeze it for 3 days, put it in the refrigerator for a few days, and then put it in your humidor. Personally, I find that once you have frozen a cigar, no matter how carefully you do it, whether it's done commercially or at home, the wrapper and the leaf are never quite the same. Whether it's the individual cells in the leaf that burst along with the larva, somehow it's never quite the same. So what we did at our factory is something that I don't think anyone else in the industry has ever done. And that's that we put our large group of cigars into a hermetically sealed chamber and suck all the air out very fast.
Is that on the back porch of Funkin'
Fucking
Wagon?
Wagnall's back porch, yeah.
Yeah, right there. What happens when you suck the air out is basically the same thing that happens when you freeze it. Since the moisture in the larva can't escape, and the pressure has become negative, it explodes, it bursts, or it cracks at least. So again, the larva can't hatch. And what I found is that the process of sucking the air out doesn't hurt the cigar any.
No.
It leaves it basically the same.
And I might add, if you ever come across a cigar with a hole towards the foot of the cigar, go ahead and smoke it. You want to clip it, clip it. It's not like you're going to be smoking it and feel or hear little crunching sounds of the bugs being burnt up. That's not really how
Not like
it
a
works.
bug lamp.
What's that?
Yeah,
Not like a bug lamp.
Like a bug lamp.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
Right?
All right, that was most
Shame.
informative, and I thank the panel for their input and everything. I think it's time for our next installment of Paul Now in the Factory.
Uh-oh.
Get back in the factory. Paul.
Get back in the factory.
Get back in the factory. Get to work.
So last week we left off with our cigars bunched, molded, and draw tested to make sure they were good. And now it's time to finish the cigars. What finishing means is that you're going to put a wrapper leaf around the whole cigar, and then you're going to put a cap on it. Obviously, wrapper leaf comes in a lot of different varieties. Wrapper leaf is the primary flavor driver for the cigar, more than any other single element. Although they all matter, the wrapper leaf matters the most. And of course, the wrapper leaf gives the cigar its appearance. So the selection of quality wrapper is very important. What you typically want is the smallest number of veins in the leaf. You definitely don't want blotches, or what they sometimes call
Sunspots.
being kissed by the sun.
Yeah, sunspots.
Which actually happens when it rains on the field, and then there's strong sunlight and it hits the drops of water, and actually the drop of water magnifies the sun and it burns a little spot on the leaf. Something that some people like on a wrapper leaf, especially if they know what it actually is tooth. You might have heard of a toothy wrapper before. If you haven't, you've probably seen it, even if you didn't know what it was. That's when the cigar seems to have a lot of little bumps all over it. Aesthetically, some people find that less pleasing, but in reality, every one of those little bumps is a cluster of the oil that gives a cigar its flavor. So in the same way that plume, which we have talked about, is the crystallization of oil, this is just natural concentrations of oil on the surface of the leaf. So the toothier a wrapper is, the more flavor it's actually going to deliver.
Cool.
So you have now wrapper, and basically the way it's treated, and we will show you pictures of this, but the leaf is generally cut in half. So and when you're rolling it, you're taking a long, relatively thin rectangle of tobacco, and at an angle, you curl the cigar, you curl that wrapper around the cigar. Believe it or not, there are left hands and right hands in the process of creating these cigars, and that really has to do with the veins. Even though you can't see them, the left-hand side of the leaf, on the left-hand side of the main stem, has veins that point in a different direction than the right-hand half of the leaf. And if you roll it in the wrong direction, the cigar will tend to unravel when somebody goes to smoke it. So it's very important that the roller knows which half of the leaf they're working with and rolls either left-handed or right-handed accordingly. Once the wrapper is on, then they put a little dab of vegetable glue to hold it all together. It's time to put the cap on. And in case you don't know, the cap is that little round piece of tobacco that covers the end of the cigar. There are two different ways to put that last piece on. Typically, they'll rub a little bit of the vegetable glue on it, they'll lay the round piece over the end of the cigar, and then press the edges down, and then it sticks. The more traditional method, and as usual, the method that is more time consuming, requires more expertise, and ultimately costs more money, is what they call triple capping, which is done virtually universally on Cuban cigars and on some better cigars that don't come from Cuba. When they what triple capping means is instead of just putting the cap on, once it's on, they take a very, very thin strip of tobacco
Thank you.
and wrap it around the edges of the cap. Where'd my cigar go?
Right here.
Oh, thank you. I can't talk without
Boy,
a
you
cigar.
don't want to take his cigar away.
I
from him.
know.
Take
Oh,
your life in your
man.
Yeah,
hands.
that's why I didn't go anywhere.
Especially a good one. But the review comes later.
Mess
Yes.
up all his concentration.
So this thin strip of tobacco is wrapped around the edges of the cap. If you could imagine it right around here. And the purpose is, regardless of the glue, sometimes, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, the edges of the cap start to peel up from the cigar. If that little extra piece of tobacco is wrapped around it, that keeps the edge from peeling up so the cap won't come off. And the best way to do that is to go 3 times around. So when you look at the cigar, you'll actually see the 3 layers of extra tobacco wrapped around, and that's why it's called triple capping. So now you have a cigar. The end of that cigar is going to look awful because it's basically just tobacco that was stuck in a mold, and this is the point at which they cut the end off.
Okay.
So it's nice and neat, and they don't use a regular cigar cutter like
Right.
these. They use a commercial cutter that's big and heavy, and it really cleanly cuts every time.
They cut them all at the same time? A lot of them at the same time? Is
They,
that why
they
use
do
the
it
big
like
cutting machine?
no, actually what they do is they cap a cigar,
Oh.
Bang it.
bang it, move on to the
Okay.
next.
Got it.
This is when quality control starts to be very important. And there are a lot of different things that a good cigar manufacturer will do with their cigar right then and there to make sure that it's right. And the first thing they do is a size check. They take stainless steel rings that are very precisely calibrated to what the ring gauge of the cigar is supposed to be. And they slide that ring up and down the cigar to make sure that it's not too loose and that it's not too tight. So that means the cigar is exactly the size it's supposed to be.
Paul, I think we should stop there and save the rest for the next episode.
I think
Oh,
that's a capital
cool.
idea.
Cliffhanger.
That's a real cap idea.
A triple cap idea.
We have some great events coming up shortly, and
we do.
I think
Events are always fun.
Scott and Rob are going to tell us about it. Yes.
The dartboard's first.
Yeah. The dartboard is November 29th. What you do is you come in, you go into our humidors, pick all your cigars out, then you go to our dartboard and you throw a dart at the board, and whatever you get, that is your discount.
I
So-
should add it's the 29th to December 1st,
It's the whole weekend.
The whole
the
weekend.
whole weekend,
Yeah.
right? And the discounts could be from what to what?
From
1 to
1 to 25%. If you get a bullseye, it's 25%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And if you, well, I was gonna say
And,
also
and
if
if you hit the store manager with the
You
dart,
get 40
even better.
then the
Yeah.
cigars are free.
exactly.
Wait a minute. let's
No,
not get
no, no,
there.
no.
Right at the head.
Scott?
Over the Black Friday weekend, we're going to have an open house in our members' lounges. For those of you who don't know, we have lounges in most of our stores. We have lockers in the lounges, TVs with surround sound, 24-hour access, which is pretty unique. And we're opening up the lounges. We're going to have a nice spread of food. We'll have some beverages available, possibly some specials on those memberships. So, you know, while some of your family is out shopping during the Black Friday weekend, come on in, grab a cigar, and take
Check
advantage
out
of our
the
lounge.
And we'll be
Yeah.
very happy
Don't
to
forget
see
the
you.
little member cards they get. It's a picture of
Oh
them,
yeah,
right?
yeah, you get a little,
Gotta have
get a little
one.
member
Yeah,
card and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And our member base are very friendly people. They'll welcome you right in. It's not your typical guy's den where you're going to sit in the wrong chair. Very, very friendly members and customers.
Speaking of friendly members and famous members and all that, let's talk about famous cigar smokers. Who wants to start it out?
Paul Major.
Well, I don't think I'm famous, but I'm a cigar
Oh,
smoker.
you're
Yeah.
famous here.
Is famous like the same as infamous?
Yeah.
No, I'm an infamous cigar smoker.
Ah,
okay.
My favorite one is Mark Twain. Big cigar smoker.
He smoked little ones.
Well, he's a
He
big
was a
cigar
little cigar
smoker.
smoker.
So he smoked a lot of them.
We can
Always
talk about
smoked.
this
He
forever.
smoked more than
Always
Paul.
smoked. Yeah.
He smoked more
Wow.
cigars
Yeah,
a day than Paul, but they were smaller ones.
Yeah, I heard somebody say he smokes 50. He smoked 50 a day.
Really?
50?
50?
That's what I.
But his cigars were so small. That's like smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
And
it's a
cigar
lot.
little
50 in
cigars.
a day.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
what I
lot.
think.
Well, you know, he had a very famous quote.
Yeah.
Said-
Actually,
couple of
two
them.
of them.
The
Couple of them.
most famous one I know, he says, "I smoke in moderation, only one cigar at a time."
Yeah.
Who was that?
That was Mark
was
Twain.
Mark
That was Mark Twain.
No,
He
who just,
hasn't-
no, who just was
Oh, the
talking.
mystery smoker.
Oh,
that's right.
Yes,
We'll
the
We'll
All
get
right.
to him in just a
His,
little
his
while.
other favorite famous one is, "If heaven does not have cigars, I shall not go."
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
right.
I like that one.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Well, mine is Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud. He smoked
He
20
smoked
a day.
He
20
smoked
a
a
day.
lot of them.
20 a
And
day.
they were mostly Lonsdale-ish sizes.
Yeah.
You know what? I can understand why he did that. If you had to sit there all day long
Listen to everybody.
and listen to all these people with all their psychosis and
kidding.
everything else, you'd be smoking a lot too, probably.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have a single word. Patton.
Yeah.
Patton.
You
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah, he smoked a lot of cigars.
Yes, he did.
He wasn't the corncob pipe guy, was he?
No,
No,
that
that's
was
MacArthur.
MacArthter.
That was my, all right,
Yeah.
I'm not up on my generals. What can I do?
Alrighty. What do you got?
I got Winston Churchill, Ulysses S. Grant.
Churchill, yeah.
Yeah, Winston Churchill, and
This is
named a
great.
size after him.
Yeah.
Bob Beckel.
Bob
the
Beckel.
5.
They didn't name a size after him.
No, they did not.
The
That would have been a
Beckel.
Bob
funny
Beck-
name for his
Huh?
eye.
Who is Bob Beckel?
He's liberal.
We don't talk about
He
liberals.
is he's on a conservative.
Oh, I
talk
got
show,
another
though.
one.
Yeah.
If nobody's thought of this one.
Okay.
Speaking of liberal, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very liberal. Yeah.
How's that, sports fans?
Well, speaking of liberals, Tip O'Neill was a big cigar smoker
Yes,
as
he
well.
was. Tip O'Neill.
I did not know.
Yeah, but he was a liberal who got things done.
Didn't Bill Clinton smoke cigars?
Bill Clinton smoked cigars.
Well,
Yeah,
he
he
smoked them.
Well, he
used
used
them.
All that.
Hey, now.
Speaking of liberals, how about John F. Kennedy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, he
yeah.
did.
Speaking of JFK, Howard Cosell.
How does that?
I have no idea.
Does
He's
it?
crazy.
How does that work?
You're crazy.
I don't know. I just wanted to fit Howard in.
All right.
I guess Fidel would qualify.
Fidel was
Fidel, yeah.
no, he doesn't smoke.
Is that
anymore.
No, well,
Well,
I don't know what you'd call
He's
him.
a little left of center, I think.
Yeah.
Al Capone.
I think it's time to review our short
Al
story.
Capone.
Well, Al Capone.
There's a cigar named after him, too.
He's a gangster.
I don't know if I'd call that a cigar.
He had a brand named after him.
Yeah.
All right, time to review our short story. And why don't we do something different? Why don't we lead off with the mystery smoker?
Ooh. Mystery smoker.
Well, gentlemen,
Remember, it is a short story.
you got to remember.
Good for him. It's gonna be
You
good.
got to
for him.
remember, Cameroons are one of the best wrappers, in my opinion, out there. So this is wrapped with a very nice Cameroon wrapper. It's a medium to mild smoke, which is really what I like. So, needless to say, this is one of my favorite cigars. Anyone in the Hemingway series, I really enjoy them.
Nice.
Yeah?
This is one of my favorites. Has a good draw, very good flavor, probably because of the Cameroon wrapper, as the mystery person said. And I think it's well constructed. Love the band. I love how you can still see the shape as you smoke if you don't ash.
You
Still-
don't like to say nipple?
Look at that. No, okay, the nipple.
It keeps its shape, that's for sure.
It does. Look how
Yeah.
they're keeping it shape.
That's cool.
It's
Perfect.
awesome. So, yeah, great cigar.
That's
What about the band?
Oh, I said great band. Band will make me dance today. Yes.
Scott?
Good Lord. It's a fantastic 30-minute cigar. I am also a fan of the Cameroon wrapper. I love the sweet, you get kind of a sweet spiciness from it. And this cigar ages extremely
Yes, it
well.
Oh, it does.
I-
Yeah, it
digging
does.
through, found a box that I've had for 10 years, and they were unbelievable.
I'll
Yeah.
bet.
They were
I'll bet.
phenomenal.
Paul?
To me, it's a quintessential Cameroon. It is the perfect Cameroon cigar. It's got the best Cameroon wrapper I think you could find on any cigar anywhere, and the filler blend is perfect. It's just it's ideal.
Now, before you talk,
Before I
you
talk.
have to realize
What's that mean?
Rob is not a big fan of Cameroon.
Yeah, right.
Go on.
All
I
right,
think he would eat it.
Rob,
Yeah, that's exactly
take it
what
away.
If
I
I,
already know what your score's going to be.
if I eat this, I could eat the cigar. I really could. This cigar is as next to perfect as you can possibly get. It's got pepper.
Perfecto.
It's
It is a
it's got a
perfecto.
ton of flavor to it. It's very complex.
Yes.
It's extremely smooth. It's a great short smoke if you only have a short drive home. it's as close to perfect as you can get.
I guess that leaves me, huh?
It does.
That's all right. Well, there's really not much I can add. Everybody sort of said it. I mean, it is an excellent Cameroon cigar. The only thing I don't like about the short story is it's too short.
Yeah.
Oh, you want more of a smoke?
Yeah,
wants a
well,
novel.
the signature and the
He wants a
classic.
novel.
But the other sizes totally changes.
Yeah, I know. They're not the
does,
same.
it
I
does,
know. I know.
yeah.
And the masterpiece is off on a
Yeah,
different end
yeah.
altogether.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, I think it's time to put some numbers on it. So why don't we start with our mystery smoker?
Well, like I said, Cameroon is one of my favorites, and this is a great Cameroon cigar. I give it a 4.75.
Wow. Miss
You
Tia?
guys ready for this? 4.95.
Wow, that's the highest score I
As
think
close
we've
I
ever
as
had.
couldn't do
perfect
because
as
you
you
said
can
close
get.
to perfect. I agree with you, so I couldn't give it a 5. But 4.95.
Wow.
I'll give it a 4.25.
2.5.
Get him out the panel.
Wow. Okay.
Unless it was from that age box, then you're getting
Yeah,
a
yeah.
4.95.
Paul?
I'm going to stick with our mystery smoker and say 4.75 also.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Wow, this is a rarity. I actually agree with Tia.
Oh my God, I'm falling out my chair.
4.95. I'd love this cigar.
Me too.
Holy mackerel. What are you looking at me for?
see you.
You got to put a number.
I got to tell you, I have a warm spot in my heart for this cigar because the very first time I tasted one, I was sitting with Billy Crystal in his trailer at a movie shoot.
Couldn't you afford a house?
Probably
You gotta
a
be
few.
quick, man. You gotta be
Probably a few. But yeah, and he was kind enough to offer me one of these, and I had never tasted one before, and I was flabbergasted by
What
how
movie?
good it was. Analyze this.
Nice.
Great movie. Had a good co-star in it, too.
Not bad.
A cup.
He was okay.
There you go. So you didn't put a score on it?
I
did.
Oh, you
We're up
did?
to
Your
you.
turn.
4.75.
Oh, it's up to me.
You're up.
Yeah.
I'm so mesmerized by all this sparkling conversation, I can't help myself. Well, I got to go. It's a 4.75 to me, and the only thing keeps it from being that 95 that these guys are talking about is the fact that it's too short. I want a longer cigar when I'm smoking this.
Yeah.
So a quick
Two of
tabulation.
them.
Yeah,
Quick
there you go.
tabulation gives it a
Back to back.
4.87 3/4.
The highest.
I think that's the highest.
That's
the
That's
highest.
the highest score we've ever had. Let's have a little preview of next week.
Our preview of next week is going to be the St. Louis Ray SLR Generation 2.
New model.
Oh, nice.
Topics of conversation, we're going to talk about aging cigars, like why age them, and what does it do to the cigar. We're going to talk about our favorite movies, and of course, everybody's favorite segment, Paul in the Factory.
All in the factory.
Nice.
All still in the factory.
I don't know what I'm going to do in the factory. The cigars are made.
I just want to remind everybody. I just want to remind everybody that all these cigars are available at the 7 cigar locations around the Philadelphia metropolitan area. And
Especially
also,
Reading.
you can go to our website at cccigars.com. That's CCigars.com. Okay, sports fans, I don't know. We only have a few seconds left, so I think we need to be a hasty retreat. So let's say goodbye.
Bye-bye for now.
So long.
Smoke often, smoke happy.
Ciao for now.
Mystery Man,
See you all next week.
and on behalf of all of us, thank you.